Well, it's good to be here. Thanks for the invitation. Interesting, when they first asked me to speak on shoulders, I go, sure. I mean, I like to talk anyway, so just as another excuse for me to do it. But I wasn't sure what the context of the talk was going to be, and so I apologize. This is really very, I don't say scientific or medical, but so as a result, I'm just going to buzz through a lot of slides I think are just quite, uninteresting and useless. And feel free to stop me if if there's something that catches you. So my focus is basically talking about shoulders, and as a surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine guy, the kind of things that we see, and specific to the elite athlete. I see these things applied to the average Joe all day long, but the elite athlete throws the ball on now an average of 93 miles an hour is kind of it's amazing that the average velocity used to be at 90, 91. It's now 93. It's going up. I don't quite understand how that happens, but food for thought, something to talk about. So here we go. So interesting. I did not put this slide in here with the thought that this was going to, but this is my usual shtick talk, right? I mean, the problem with pitching, it's pathologic. So I tell everybody, pitching is not normal, is not what the shoulder was designed to do, although maybe Nathan could argue it is, but it's not designed to do that. And if you do that over and over again, it will fail. And that's kind of where I come in, or hopefully there are things or measures we try to do to prevent that from happening, or at least from my point of view, don't do it while you're playing for the Giants. You can go break down, Dodgers, go ahead, you can blow up. But while we're in my watch, no, don't, okay? So, and not even know that hunting was part of it. This is just a stupid orthopedic surgeon just making a comment. So anyways, Nathan will probably. So basic anatomy. The shoulder joint, as you heard, the shoulder blade. I'm a big shoulder blade, scapula, posture kind of guy. We'll talk about that. And you can see part of it is the glenoid. And I call it, for golf ball, golf tee, right? That's my analogy. Yeah, I get that. The other stuff, I don't know. Glenoid, humerus, golf ball, golf tee, I do get. The biceps tendon, if you look at it, why the hell does that run right there, right? I don't know. I mean, whoever designed this thing, it's weird. But they probably had it in mind for orthopedic surgeons because that breaks down a lot, and I operate on it. So there you go. Appreciate it, I mean, just like CrossFit, it's awesome, right? Great stuff. This attaches to the labrum, which is kind of it's a bumper. So it's a rubber gasket that surrounds the golf tee, and attached to that are ligaments. Unfortunately, I can't show you that, but that is the basic structure. The rotator cuff, which is all these stuff that surrounds it. In a nutshell, what it does, really, it keeps the ball on the socket. That's it. Rotator cuff. Everybody thinks get your rotator stronger and all these things. It has no purpose other than centering that ball on that socket, right? The other big muscles, the deltoid, the latissimus, pectoralis, those are the ones that provide the velocity, the torque, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, the rotator cuff does some, but that tiny little muscles aren't going to provide the velocity or speed in the shoulder. That is not its role, right? Its role is simply doing that. So that is where, all this stuff has to work together over and over again. Okay? So just keep that in mind in terms of what happens, and you can see if the ball does not stay centered on here, what happens? Oh, it's going to hit that thing right above, the acromion. We call it the roof, right? We call that impingement, right? Everybody has impingement, okay? But there's impingement because you have bone spurs and stuff, and there's impingement because you're not centering that ball, okay? So probably kind of lost half of you there, but it's all right. I hear myself talk, so it's all good. So back in the day, we didn't really have a good idea what was going on with the mechanics, and and I'm going to talk about my interpretation, or at least my because I'm always right, of course, but my interpretation of what I think is going on. And back in the day when this was going on, we didn't have any good explanations, and I think a lot of guys were just, really, and back in the 70s, probably going to see psychiatrists, I mean, my guys need to see psychiatrists for different reasons, not just for this part. But so we went through all this. This is, you guys see that. The phases of pitching. The ones that we kind of keep in mind are early cocking and deceleration. Why? Because that is when the most force is put on the shoulder, and that's when they get hurt. So, of course, I'm going to pay attention. So this is Jason Schmidt. I don't know if you all remember Jason Schmitty, yeah? Good friend of mine. He did the great highway robbery because he left us, went to LA, pitched a total of, I think, 12 games for $48 million. Okay? It's the wind up, early cocking. And what you want to keep in mind here is like, you talk about your amateur pitching coaches. Oops. See this area here? You see when the foot hits? Okay, we always talk about when the foot hits, that front foot hits, most pitching coaches want to make a big deal about where the arm is at that time, right? Because a lot of guys, their front foot will hit and their arm will still be down here, right? You're like, how the hell do you get this here when your foot's already down and be able to get on top and throw the ball with velocity, right? There's some guys that are on amazing ability that can do that because their arm speed is that fast, and there are others that don't, and they're the ones who often will get hurt. Yeah? And not that that's it. But those are kind of things that, an amateur pitching coach here can do. There's light cocking, you can see it right there. Acceleration, now you're moving forward. Now, as Nate kind of points out, you're moving forward, and yet this arm is still going backwards, right? It's that, catapult or loading thing, and that's really what you're trying to, what generates the velocity. The other thing is like physics, right? There's a reason why they don't have any short Japanese guys on the mountain these days, right? 5'8". Most major league guys are 6 feet, 6'2", 6'3", and taller. It's called physics, right? Put a 12-inch man on top of that, that's a lot of physics. Put a guy like me up there that they think is like free batting cage day at the park or something. Let the little kid try. So there's Schmitty. I put that on for his benefit because I gave this in another talk. All I could say is that's messed up. So as I mentioned before, external rotation, ball release, right? Yeah, that was easy. So this is like a biomechanics lab. This is actually done Dr. Andrews. But what you want to note is we also talked slowly, and I know Nate kind of mentioned it too, but if you look at how much external rotation he has, okay, a lot of it's developmental, humeral torsion. If you all check yourselves, you can see I have a lot of external rotation right, left side, I throw like a girl. Sorry, I didn't have to be sexist, but you know what I'm saying. Like that Jetta commercial. That's developed, okay? A lot of guys, I can tell when I do 200 physicals a year in minor league system, and I can tell just by testing the external rotation what hand dominant they are, right-sided or left-sided, right? The Dominican guys, they're like freak shows, right? They can kind of but velocity is generated by arm speed, arm torque. So the idea is to keep that thing stable for at least 119 or how many pitches we throw in a game over and over again with pinpoint accuracy, by the way. So these are just for smart people, physics here. I have no idea what these numbers actually mean. I just know it's a lot, right? You're like, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I don't know. Okay. Oh, there you go, mad bump. Not going to make any comment on anything else because he'll turn me into a pretzel if I do. So. Ball release. As you can see, there's major compressive force, but we also think there's also a major distracting force. Like something's got to slow down your arm, right? The rotator cuff does that, right? So the reason why I bring this all up, because if you think about what things get hurt, man, check out those ears, huh? I hope he's not here. I'll just skip through this. So all this comes down to a phenomenon called internal impingement, okay? It's basically, in a nutshell, the back of the rotator cuff, as you rotate so extreme, hits right here. And it does it over and over again. So if you can imagine the shoulder doing that whole process over and over again. You got to figure out, well, what is your body's response to that, or what happens? So, the typical, kind of historical thing that the pictures will tell you is like, all these things. Shoulder pain, but my arm feels dead, right? You've heard the term dead arm syndrome. Can't finish pitches, can't find an arm slot, and that comes back to like, because their ball's not being centered, right? Every single time, pitching is about consistency. If that arm doesn't stay right where it is, one time it slides in the back, one time it slides up, they find a different way to throw the ball every single time. And that's what I think is in reference to about what's really going on biomechanically. Internal impingement, I'm going to bore you with all these things. The only thing I would say is that people always get these 5 things, like most pitchers do. Yeah? They get posterior capsular tightness, back of their shoulders tight. The glenoid shifts, so oftentimes when they get this, their external rotation is even more extreme. I mean, they can like, I can't even do it, hurt myself. Rotator cuff tear, right? Slap lesion, which is a labral tear, right? And instability. What this tells me, and I'll go reference it later, they all have pathology. Every major league, minor league guy, any overhead athlete, you get an MRI, it's gonna be abnormal, 100% of them, right? So if you're using abnormal MRIs as your guide, I go, I'm a busy guy, man. I could retire, just operate, everybody comes through the door, okay? That goes with elbows too. So there's a normal, abnormal pathology in throwing athletes, right? So that's the hard part. You get these guys at draft, and look at these MRIs, and I go, I don't know. When I first did them, I go, oh my God, they're abnormal. But then that's it. But they're throwing 93, they're dealing. I'm like, okay, what do I know? And this is the whole kind of phenomenon right there. Gee, how did you do that? That's amazing.
We are very concerned about posterior injuries to the shoulder as the arm abducts and externally rotates.
So this is a cadaver. Hope we don't throw up. Okay.
How there is cause for impingement.
That's the roof. That's the ball, and that's the rotator cuff right here, right? So as you rotate back, see, it kind of tells you right there. As you rotate right here, that's what you do. And you're doing this over and over again, And this thing will see? Operating room. This is what I do, okay? So what you're seeing here is what's going on inside the shoulder to what we're doing outside, right? So this is kind of like one of those proof of what's going on, or a semi-explanation. How do we explain some of the pathology we see in the throwing athlete? And it's fairly consistent. And as they externally rotate, this rotator cuff hits the back of the shoulder over and over again, basically. And it's not moving anymore. Oh, no, it is. Just really slow. So that's it. You guys can move it anytime now. There you go, okay? So as he internally rotates, externally rotates. And you can see that right there? That's a rotator cuff, okay? That's an undersurface tear. And you can see that happens over and over again. It's fairly consistent, right? Okay, I think that's enough. Okay, here we go. What else here? Tight posterior capsule. Well, what I had to tell you? I said the rotator cuff centers the golf ball on a tee, right? Well, if one side gets really tight, right, and I try to spin, I go, it's not going to rotate anymore. It's going to pivot, right? So that shifting then causes all this other pain, right? So, and the other thing is that we call it GERD. No, it's not some old lady in Germany. Because of the shift, it allows even more external rotation, but you'll lose internal rotation, right? So we used to make a big deal like, this is my normal arc of motion, and this is my normal arc, but you can see my internal rotation sucks, where my internal rotation is actually pretty good, but my external rotation sucks over here, but my external rotation is good. So basically, in the throwing shoulder, oftentimes that basically range of motion shifts, right? We just know what's normal, and oftentimes we'll note that. We can't change. These guys got to the big leagues because they're good, not because you're not going to change them. But we want to make sure if there's any major changes along the way, we want to at least address them. So that shift causes rotation, also causes more migration, and it causes the labral tear, okay? And it also causes, this is what that rotator cuff, that rotator cuff on that video that you saw? This is what it consummates. So it's a partial. The rotator cuff goes from here to here, and you can see underneath there it's starting to get worn down. What else you got here? The slap, okay? You can see that biceps, right? See that little bicep? You see where it attaches to? The labrum. This is that rubber gasket. And so 100% of guys get this tear. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to dislocate. It's just that there's a decreased ability to maintain this stability, right? So if you evolve this kind of stuff over years, a career, 18-year, 15-year career, I go, they've adapted. They're so good. It's just that when you get these things thrown that chuck it, whatever you call that thing, dogs, that thing, and you do that, that doesn't go well because that evolved over 2 seconds. Most of these evolve over time, and so major league guys adapt and they do well. So this is the entire spectrum that we think goes on over and over again, right, to explain that pathology. And then here are the symptoms, the history, shoulder pain, and these are more things like when we talk to other orthopedic surgeons or therapists, what you should look for. So some of the clinical exams, you guys know all this already. The shoulder blade. I'm big on a shoulder blade because I think this is pretty much the key link to kind of treating scaps, or in my everyday practice, the, what do you got? Parents say bad posture, but bad posture between the cell phone, the computer, and the car, we're all like this, right? So it causes all these kind of orthopedic issues, variations of impingement, okay? And good posture, bad posture. My biggest thing is that, how I said you lack range of motion? When your posture is bad, or you're just kind of slumped and you try to rotate, this is it. This is all I can go. But when my posture is good, my rotation increases. We do this with every guy who throws, and the tendency is to get tight, right? Talk about bad posture. He's not here. I can throw him under the bus. Jeremy Affel is notoriously bad posture, right? 6'5", bad body, bad posture. Payback sucks, Jeremy. It's my microphone. You can't do anything about it. But incredible pitcher, right? But he's one of the guys that when he's going good and he gets that external rotation, his shoulder blade flattens out automatically here. He's got amazing rotation. He gets on top of the ball, okay? When he doesn't, when he kind of gets stuck here, then the tendency is either drop your elbow or they tend to get underneath the pitch, right? Now, when you're throwing 95, the difference from 95 to 91 is a huge difference. Also, when you're on top, and you guys know baseball, the movement is important. So when you're on top, the ball will actually move from left to right and up to down, right? If you're throwing a fastball and you're getting underneath it, you're pushing it, you're that Jetta commercial, you leave everything up, right? You throw 91 up in the major leagues, it ends up as a souvenir for some guy in left field, okay? You throw 93 with movement here, that's like 3 World Series. So as much crap I want to give him, was he at 24 innings straight in playoff? No runs. So, okay, I made it up for your slam, Jeremy. There you go. So this is more for therapists. My biggest point about this is just to understand, at least from a shoulder perspective, and then when I lecture and I teach, it's basically the throwing shoulder. The same mechanics happen in our everyday lives, but it's just that to understand it to that higher level, I think is a key. Everybody has to develop their own, and that's kind of when I have my fellows and my residents, so I try to teach them. So we get X-rays. MRIs are pretty much a gold standard, and basically, you're going to see all this. But my point about the MRIs is that they're all abnormal, right? 100% of them. So it's one of those, be careful what you ask for, right? I go, Gary, it's going to be abnormal. Well, you can get it. They're like, oh my God, I got a cuff tear, and So I have to, me and our head trainer have to kind of placate or, kind of present the MRI and basically said, these are normal, abnormal findings before they just want to, jump off a bridge or something like that. So history, MRIs, do they need surgery? And basically it comes down to, we make a big deal about is that how we prevent, how we treat is basically how we interpret what we think is going on. Yeah, that's in a nutshell. Boach is not happy. So we do the posterior capsule stretching, right? As I talked to you about, tight posterior capsule. Do the physio ball, get your scap, right? Getting your scap good. Your I's, T's, and Y's on the foam roller. Yeah, y'all did it, Cortisone shots. Yeah, I love these things. Anyways, the idea behind cortisone shots, not to fix. Don't fix anything. Decrease inflammation. That's all it's for. The old, I'm dating myself. The North Dallas 40 where you got the shot and then you went out and played. No, we don't do that, okay? PRP, platelet-rich plasma. It's basically a derivation of blood and taking advantage of your own blood product and concentrating and using it as an anti-inflammatory agent. I've had pretty good success with it. Surgery. There's your biceps right here. This is your labrum. Yeah? Like I said, rubber gasket, right? Looks like a piece of squid. It peels off, and it's not the peeling off that's the problem. The peeling off and the ligaments attached to that rubber gasket. So as they peel off, it becomes more and more unstable, right? So in a nutshell, you can say over time, the shoulder gets more and more unstable to the point where you can't throw 93, 94 for 120 pitches every fifth day, right? If you notice, and Timmy's a great dude, but most major league guys, as they age, their velocities drop. I can go up and down. Everybody talks about Timmy, but if you're a baseball guy, Roy Halladay, Carpenter, but Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux used to throw 95, 97 miles an hour. By the end of his career, he's throwing 85, but the ball, he learned how to pitch, basically, right? Even without the velocity. So our guys, most major league guys, have incredible ability, and so even when all this stuff is occurring, they still get guys out. Somehow, some way, you get guys out, right? But at some point in time, though, when things break down and you just can't do it, then by fixing, you're basically stabilizing the shoulder again, okay? The problem is, you guys think, I don't know what this guy's fixing. There's something up there. That's rotator cuff there. The problem is, you do all this, crazy crab, yeah, you guys remember that, huh? That labral repairs in average people, like me, of course, 80, 90% successful, right? And I didn't bring the data to bore you guys, but labral repairs at the major and minor league level, we used to think we were so good, but the criteria we were using were like, I laugh at this now, they were like, can you comb your hair? Can you eat? Those are like excellent, right? 90% success rate. But when you looked at like really relevant criteria, it was, can you throw without pain? Have you been able to get back to your same level or higher at baseball or pitching? Our numbers went down to like 60 to 70% success rate. So I'm like going, I like the combing hair part. We nailed that, right? 90%. We're good. But we realized that we're not as good as we once thought. Imagine that, surgeons. As we once thought. And so now the the hope is, don't operate. Don't operate in the shoulder. Don't operate in the shoulder. Only and only if we need to. Only because if nothing else, our data doesn't back it up, right? And so, I do a lot of Tommy Johns, like 80, 90 Tommy Johns a year. Those numbers are pretty consistent. But in the shoulder, because there are other major factors going into it, they're not as consistent. So we only would do that when guys completely fail. However, if we're lucky enough to be successful, and you have Mass and Bumgardner, that was our World Series celebration. So, and there's a short Japanese guy in there too. So, yeah, sorry about that. But anyways, that's it. Sorry for the distracting lecture, but.